what causes couples, who get married, with the best of intentions. How do they get to a stage where, things are not going that great? And how do you get that back together? This morning we were talking to a woman, and she said, "I did not get married to get divorced." What a profound statement, because nobody gets married with the intention of, the marriage ending. However, it unfortunately happens. And, one of the things that we realized is that one of the early signs that things are not all that great in a marriage is that the sexual relationship, the sexual connection actually starts to change. And so that's what Sulojana said. Sometimes when people come to us, they don't even want to touch each other. And many of them, will tell us that they have not had, sex at all for a number of months, if not years. And so, it's not because there's anything wrong with them physically. All the apparatus is in good working condition, but there's still a sexual dysfunction. And so, in other words, the reason that that they do not want to enjoy each other sexually has nothing to do, with their ability to do that. It's not about the sexual drive, but the sexual desire, is no longer there. Okay, and so the first thing we want to address is that even though it's manifesting itself in the physical, in the sexual area of life, really, we cannot start, by just beginning with the body and say, okay, why don't you guys do this? Start touching each other here, this way, that way, and then your sex drive will come back, your desire will come back. It doesn't work that way. You know why it doesn't work that way? Because God made us, God created us, as spirit beings, with a soul in a body. And so you have to take into consideration the spirit realm. We have to take into consideration what we call the soul, which is your mind, will, and emotions. And interestingly enough, when we take care of those two, the physical will take care of itself.
Yeah.
Okay. So Sulojana, pick it up from there, and let's keep going.
Yeah. So we're going to use an example that we had encountered as an example, just to explain how some of the things in our lives, what all affects the sexual relationship, right? Yeah. So we're going to use names. They're not the real names. Okay. So we're taking example of Dom and Denise. So this couple had a history of hurting each other and bringing up, past mistakes, past hurts. So, it often happens in marriages, right? We don't even realize it. This is a very, very good example. So Dom and Denise. So Denise kept on reminding Dom about sexual indiscretion that he had committed several years back. Several years back. Let's leave it at that. Okay. And Dom, he kept on rehashing how her rude treatment of one of the family members had created or alienated not only her but also him. It caused a rift and no communication between families. So both of them have been bringing up this, common incident that kept on bringing them up and hurting each other. And of course, when you do this, rehashing the past, bringing up past hurts or past incidents, the sexual area is affected, right? So they're not only arguing with each other often, their sexual relationship is not there.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and it's because all this emotional baggage, if you will, all the and at the spirit level, they have not dealt with it. Like when you're talking to them, they would say, yeah, Yes,
I
that
forgive.
happened in the past. We have forgiven each other. But if you listen to any of our earlier sessions or recordings, you'll have noticed we talked about how you can forgive somebody, but you can still keep on judging them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
or you can forgive somebody, but your forgiveness is not complete.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not deep, really from the heart. So she claimed, I've forgiven him, and but we found out she has, like I just said, she hasn't forgiven him from the heart. And in other words, she has not forgiven him. Boy, this word, for the effects of this indiscretion upon her soul, and how it has affected her emotions, her thoughts. So obviously, she's really hurt, still hurt, and hasn't forgiven him from the heart. So what we ended up doing is we uh, asked them, we have some trained couple, so we got them to go through the inner healing. Yeah, so that this forgiveness has to, will come from the heart, and they will not bring this past hurts anymore. So when they went through the inner healing, some of you heard of Sozo, this restoring the foundation, different names, for these things. So they went through that process, forgave him from the heart, and all the root cause of those hurts were all removed. And same thing with him. Both of them went through the same inner healing.
Yeah.
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 And
So they both had to, acknowledge the impact that those hurt. They did some, obviously, some very like ungodly kind of things to each other, but they had to deal with the emotional effects of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so they both had to get to a stage where the healing happened on the inside first. And so as that healing began to happen on the inside, now she, first of all, was a lot more open, right?
Yes.
To resume the sexual relationship. And of course, he had also done that inner healing work, and so he was in a place where that hurt was not hanging over him anymore. And at that point, they were both in a very good place where the sexual relationship could resume. So what we really want to point out to you is that, and in some ways, we're going to be answering our question. The question was, like, what do you do when your spouse loses interest in sex? And some of these factors are addressing, that particular issue as well.
Yeah.
That you need to take into consideration the spirit soul connection, and make sure that, as sometimes I was told, the foundations folks call it spirit soul hurts, that you need, because they affect the spirit and the soul. And you need to, and friends, if any of you is in that situation and you need help with that, send us a private message afterwards, and we will connect you with our team or somebody else that can help you.
Yeah. We just want to point out, if you're rehashing some of the past hurts, some of the past incidents to your spouse, that means you still haven't fully forgiven them. That's what happened in with this couple. And so get some help. Sometimes the enemy, if you haven't shut that door, if those thoughts keep coming, get some help. Get it resolved once and for all, and you have to let go. You have to make a decision after that. I've forgiven him. Same thing with the spouse. He has forgiven me, so we are not going to bring this up anymore, and move on. And you will have a really good sexual life.
Yeah.
Okay. Relationship will be so much better.
All right. Okay, so first is taking into consideration the spirit-soul-body connection. The next factor that affects the sexual connection is the degree of transparency in your marriage. So if you feel like your spouse is holding something back from you, whether it's something financial, or they're battling an addiction that they haven't, shared with you,
Mm-hmm.
or come clean with you about it, or something from their past that they may be ashamed of. Like, we can usually tell it's like when you get to know each other in a marriage after a while. I think this is just my experience, is that I think women tend to be more discerning of these things and more sensitive to it
Mm-hmm.
than guys.
Yeah.
And I'll explain to you why in a while. Guys don't really seem to quite grasp this quite as much as the women. But
Or even when you were talking about the past things, even sexual abuse in the past, in a young age, yeah, those things can affect also.
mhm, yeah,
So be transparent.
yeah.
If there's something that happened.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
sometimes we shy away from transparency because we think that if we're transparent, our spouse will think less of
Mm,
us,
mhm.
right? And
It's
and
not.
I'm going to tell you something. That is a lie of the enemy, because the enemy keeps on telling you, well, no, 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 you cannot share that with her. No, 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 you can't tell him that about your past, because now he's going to hate you even more, or she's going to push you away even more. And friends, initially, when you share something like that,
Mhm.
where you think something comes out of the dark and into the light, so to speak, initially, yeah, your spouse is going to recoil.
Yeah.
The shock is going to be there. However, what is worse is for you not to share, and then at some stage it comes out, but it doesn't come out of your own mouth. Somebody else spills the beans on you, or you go and do something stupid that is a recurring pattern for you, but now your spouse finds out about it. Like the pain that causes is going to be way worse than the pain that you will experience by being transparent with each other.
Mhm.
So and so here's the thing: if you cannot, if you feel like your spouse is not totally transparent with you, then you don't have the freedom, you don't feel the freedom to give yourself totally to the other person, which is what we do in the sexual connect, when we have a sexual connection, right? Yeah. And so when you're totally transparent with each other, about everything, which we talked about at another time, actually, if you want to go back to the recordings, then that definitely promotes a very strong sexual connection.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
better to bring it to light, and get the healing that you need, and move on. It will actually, in lots of cases, it brings couples closer together
Yeah.
when you become more transparent. The more
Mhm.
transparent you are, the better.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. What else, Lojana, affects the sexual connection?
Okay. We have, as women, need that emotional connection before we can connect sexually with our spouse, with our husbands, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, the emotional connection is very important for women. So uh, we like to talk, communicate. We talk a lot more than men, right? And the emotional connection can come out in words like, what are you thinking, or how are you, what are you feeling, um, tell me what's going on through your mind, because men don't talk much, so that's how you try to connect
Yeah.
emotionally
We have
with
to
them.
say most men. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Some men, would defy this pattern, but for the most part, that's the way it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, we have grown a lot, right? Uh,
Yeah. But when we guys, when we hear our wives, asking those kind of questions, we're not always very comfortable with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially, if
We,
we
we
if
don't
we
want to open up.
yeah, especially, if we grew up in an environment where we didn't see our like our fathers, for example, or other men around us, share at that kind of an emotional level,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
It was
That's
just
right.
like always a mm, mm, mm,
Yeah, that's all the answer. Yes,
mm.
instead of yes, no.
if the great most the way your emotion comes out is in a grunt, uh, then then when Sulojana says, "Hey, what's going on? Tell me more about it." it's like, no, I don't want to go there. Yeah. But that's very important,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
women to feel that connection.
yeah, guys. When your wife is asking you those kind of questions, they just want to connect with you emotionally. And when there's emotional connection throughout the day, it's so much easier. When you go under covers, right?
Yeah. So we actually wrote a post about this that got a lot of response on LinkedIn as well as on Facebook, and that's about the that sexual intimacy flows out of emotional intimacy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This way, you don't have to, struggle and strive for it. It just comes naturally.
Yeah. Okay. And so for us guys, because it's not an easy thing to do, then one of the things that we need to do is find ways in which we are able to make that connection. And in our post on Facebook and on LinkedIn, we actually included something called the feelings wheel. It's put together by a well-known person in Australia, whose name is the same as our son's name, Satya, Dr. Satya Ramakrishnan, and people call him Sam. So he actually writes his name, Satya bracket Sam, which is what our son's name is, Satya Sam. Anyway, so don't confuse this Satya with our Satya. But he's got this feelings wheel, or if you Google, you'll probably find lists of feelings all over the place. But we sometimes need some language to express the way that we're feeling. And once we start doing that, even using a crutch like that, after a while, it actually becomes a little bit easier, right? To be able to share some of the feelings.
Right.
Excuse me. And so anyway, friends, the word for guys is, guys, make sure that your wife is getting emotional intimacy from you, and don't just expect sexual intimacy from her. Okay. But by the way, there's an expression that we often hear the wives say to us, when they come for marriage mentorship, is they'll use words like, my love tank is not full, my emotional tank, or my emotional bank account is drained. Okay. And so
we are not connecting emotionally.
Yeah. And so this is one of those innate differences, in most cases between men and women. And so we need to honor that. And have you noticed that, again, we have not really talked much about what you do physically, because a lot of it, really has to do with your soul, with your mind, will, and emotions, and your spirit. Okay. But there is a physical, biological factor, if you will, that we also have to take into consideration. Okay. Because we are spirit, soul, and body. Remember? Okay. This is holistic. And the name of this particular factor is actually a hormone that is called oxytocin. Okay. Now, I'm sure most of you have heard about oxytocin or heard jokes about oxytocin, but oxytocin, and I'm not a scientific person. If I sound a little bit educated about this, it's all stuff that I've learned from others who know way more about it. Okay, so oxytocin is a hormone which my medical friends tell me is always at a very high level in women.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the only time a man's oxytocin levels even get close to hers is during sexual intercourse, and especially at the point of ejaculation. Martha, did he say ejaculation? He's a pastor. He uses words like that. Well, that's what happened. Okay, so I got Sulojana going. I hope I can get her back. Okay, so oxytocin is known as the bonding chemical, the cuddling hormone, connection hormone, chemical, etc.
Somebody put Jesus.
In other words, Lord have mercy. Okay, is what she's saying. All right. In other words, there's a connection that a man experiences, with his wife at that point in the sex act that he cannot get in any other way.
Yeah.
All right. And so So the corollary of that for the sexual connection of marriage is that the wives need to realize, okay, Sulojana,
that we need to connect emotionally.
yeah, but for the men, so so this is an exchange that happens, in our household from time to time. It's like Sulojana, what do you
Yeah,
say when I
yeah.
keep bringing stuff up? What do you say? You
Yeah.
say, is that
Is that
all?
all you want?
Is that all you can think of?
Yeah. Is that all you
Yeah.
think about?
And I say yes. Until I get that oxytocin high, that's all I can think of. That's just don't blame me. God made me that way. All right. And so, wives, when your husband keeps on bugging you or coming after you, and just won't leave you alone until he's not being an animal. He's actually being fully human. Okay. Now, I'm going to say something that that you don't misunderstand this when I say this to you. But if a man is not getting that sexual release, from his wife, then he can very easily fall into a temptation, to fantasize, turn to
And
pornography,
turn to other things to satisfy that.
masturbate, have his own release, or worse, find somebody else, who is willing to, allow him to have that oxytocin release with her. And so again, I just want to say to you that this does not give a husband permission to have sex on demand.
That's right.
Simply because you want to get the oxytocin rush.
Yeah.
All right. So you cannot manipulate your wife into having sex. Well, honey, I got to get the oxytocin out. So it doesn't matter that that I don't want to make emotional connection with you. Like, there's no excuse.
Tired, your wife can be tired, you have to take into consideration all that. Not feeling well.
Yeah.
You can just impose and
Yeah. But at the same time, wives, you need to take into account that this is part of the way that God made your husband. And so you need to try and resolve, like, if, for example, if you're feeling like, emotionally you're not connecting with me at all, and I just can't, see myself at this stage right now, opening myself up to you, to have a sexual connection. But you have to help him and say, listen, I know that your drive is very, very strong and you need it badly enough, but you need to take into consideration my needs as well. And right now I feel like, we've built like there's a wall between us, because emotionally I'm drained, and like we need to resolve this. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about this in future sessions, about like an easy way to facilitate reconciliation. But friends, just want to point out to you that there are some innate differences between us as male and female, the way God created us, that we need to take into consideration the emotional connection that the women want and the oxytocin rush that the guys want. Okay.
There was a question, is this biblical? The oxytocin maybe is not there in the Bible, but everything that we are talking about is biblical. We haven't coded yet, but there is it First Peter where it says, your body is not your own. It's
1 Corinthians 7.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Which we may or may not get to today.
Right.
Yeah. But let's just say for now, Delphina, I think you're asking that question about being biblical. It is biblical in the sense that we're honoring the way that God created us, very clearly. The Bible says male and female, and each of us, has our own, unique characteristics that we need to take into consideration and needs. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can cover one more point, and then we'll get to the question.
Okay. So fourthly, we need to be aware how affection in the open affects passion under covers, right? I know it sounds a little bit abstract. So let's take a moment and think about all the interaction, husband and wife, what goes on between a husband and wife throughout the day. Okay.
Or outside the bedroom.
Outside the bedroom. That's right. Yeah. So, there are times, maybe your husband is busy doing something, all the time. So you can say, how long would that recording be? Say he's recording something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of the comments like, how long, is this going to take, right?
Yeah.
Or how much,
Yeah. Or you're just, like, well,
you're criticizing.
a few days ago, we talked about the 4 C's, a few weeks ago, rather. Okay. So how are we treating each other? So if outside of the bedroom, like one spouse is always criticizing the other one, condemning them, complaining them, comparing them to, your brother-in-law or sister-in-law or somebody else at work or somebody you see on television, all those kind of things, or sometimes there could be put downs.
Yeah.
Right. Where, like, well, you're up to no good. You're no good at that anyway. Like, don't you ever remember these things about me? Like all those kind of things. And again, there's a proper way to bring those things up. It's not that you need to keep those things bottled up inside.
True. Yeah, I think it's the way we talk to our spouse.
Yeah. And so outside, in the rest of the house, we're not treating each other as well as we ought to. And then all of a sudden we get to the bedroom and it's like, oh my darling, you're the most beautiful creature in the world.
Yeah.
Like, your whole tone changes, and your very clearly, your spouse, in this case, let's say the guy's doing that, then the wife can say, like, phony baloney. Outside, you call me all sorts of names, and now all of a sudden, oh, I love you, baby, all this kind of stuff. It's just, you're just looking for that oxytocin rush, buddy. So, get out of here, Tarzan. Okay. Me, Jane. Me no do nothing with you. Okay. So how do you fix that? Yeah.
So, okay.
So during the daytime, what do you do?
Yeah. So, throughout the day, make sure you watch how you treat each other, right? The comments, just, uplifting words are the best. If you, like Jeeva said, if you have to bring up anything, use the right words. That's the right way to bring it up. Us ladies, we like that touch.
Yeah.
Just, if Jeeva would give me a hug, when I don't expect it, or say, I love you, or just caressing me, those are,
that's why affection.
Yeah.
So the way we express affection with each other. See, the thing is, like even couples who are, at the point of calling it quits will tell us, but we still love each other. And, and thank God, the love is there, because otherwise you wouldn't have been together all this time. But when we express affection, we also let each other know, hey, I like you, and so affection, as Sulojana said, especially if touch, is your love language.
That's
right. So that's one of the primary ways in which you experience love, and your spouse, has a hands-off policy. Ooh, you're in big trouble, guys and gals. Hands-free is for cell phones when you're driving only. Okay, you cannot have a hands-free policy in your marriage. Hello. Especially when your partner says, hey, touch me, or they come and just put their hands on your shoulder and just caress you. Like it's not leading to anything. It's not a sexual touch. Okay, and so if the only time you touch each other is when you want sex or have sex, there's a problem there. Okay, you need to fix that. You need to start expressing affection to each other. And also, this is another thing that we're learning about love languages, because we get all our couples to go through the love languages quiz when we meet with them, is that even within a love language, like we'll talk about touch, for example, certain kinds of touch mean more to one person than the other.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So the same kind of touch,
may
like
not be
as effective with everybody. Yeah.
Cause the same effect.
Yeah. And so that calls for some communication, right? ask each other, hey, what kind of touch, is pleasurable to you? What makes you feel, appreciated, liked,
Mm.
loved?
Mhm.
Like, for example, some people really, really need hugs.
Yeah.
And I know guys don't always want hugs. You know, they just need, somebody, look at the muscles there, boy. A little touch on his pecs is all he needs. Pectorals, I meant by that. Okay. Don't misunderstand. Okay. And so you need to find out from each other. You're losing it today. Okay. As you can tell, we have a lot of fun with each other, very loosey goosey,
Oh, dear.
and expressing affection and teasing and that kind of stuff we do. And so all of this behavior, all of the ways in which we treat, that's the point we're making, is the way you treat each other when you're not actively, engaging in something that leads to you. So all these affection things, they are not foreplay. Okay, there's really no intent to have sex behind it.
Exactly.
But
You don't do it on the days when you're having
only
sex
on the days, yeah.
It should
Oh,
be
you're
every
touching
day.
me. I think I know what you want. No, don't get to that point. Okay, make it a natural part of your life. So friends, those are some key ingredients that go towards strengthening the sexual connection in our marriage. Okay, in your marriage. And I don't know if anybody has any questions about this. And we also realize that whenever we do a session like this, there are many of you who are watching. You don't want to ask your questions, in public, and they may, especially when you're talking about an area like sex, there may be some sensitive areas, sensitive questions,
Mhm.
and so we give you total permission to contact us privately. Just send us a message, by messenger. Both of our names are on there, and ladies, if you feel more comfortable talking to Sulojana about it, then click on that and send her a message. And guys, vice versa, or you can send to both, because we eventually share those with each other anyway, and find the best ways to help you. And we're always very happy, to set up a time just to meet with you privately as a couple, and help you, with give you some pointers, and find out where you're at, and suggest some things that you can do, or if you need more help, we'll tell you that as well. Okay.
Yes.
And so if 3 or 4 people are bringing up the same issue, and it's a comfortable kind of a question, then we'll do it in a group. But if it's a matter that we need to honor your privacy, and the confidentiality, then we're more than happy
To do a
to
one-on-one.
do a one-on-one or
Yeah.
a couple-on-couple
Yeah.
session with you. All right. So please keep that in mind. Okay. Now let's
So,
get to the question. And the question was, what do you do when your spouse has lost interest in sex? Okay. So you need to take into consideration all the things that we talked about so far. We just want to add a couple more things to what we have said, which I believe are important. Okay. Number one, remember we talked about the spirit soul body connection, and so I just want to focus physiologically, biologically. There could be issues that are preventing a person from fully being able to engage, in a sexual relationship. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, it could be something to do with your health. And as we age, you do notice some changes happening in your health, and one of the areas that can very well be affected, is your ability to perform sexually the way that you used to. Actually, I put this post up about what we're talking about on LinkedIn, and one of my LinkedIn connections said, a woman basically said, hey, you got to take into consideration the fact that right after, as a woman, I've given birth to a child.
Mm-hmm.
My sexual desire is not going to be there. Okay. For a while, it may be a longer time, especially if I'm dealing with any kind of, postpartum depression and so on.
That's
You
right.
need to be aware of that.
Can be a few weeks, some women a few months.
Months or even longer.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that could be a factor. Another thing she said right away is postmenopausal, and so that can affect, your sex drive as well. We're talking about women here, and for a man, there could be, simply biologically, your capacity to perform is not there anymore, or it's diminished. And so we have to take into consideration the biological factor, the physiological factor, or if there's some kind of an illness. Like there's a few people that mentioned diabetes on the chat, and one of the things that that diabetes can do, can actually cause constriction of your blood vessels, and so which of course can also affect, in this case, let's talk about a husband, the husband's ability to perform, and so we need to be aware of the biological factors.
Sometimes women, there's lots of housework. In most cases, you're looking after little children. You can be tired, so men have to be considerate of that also. Right?
And the other way around, right?
Yeah,
like your physical fatigue is always a factor, and don't discount physical hygiene. Okay, that you need to be physically, attractive. Not attractive. By attractive, I mean like pleasing, like not like working out, that kind of attractive. Although there's nothing wrong with that. However, also like smell good,
presentable,
look good, be clean, take showers, all those kind of things. All right. So that's the biological factor, the physical factor. Sulojana, what else can cause somebody to lose interest in sex?
Have to first of all have a heart-to-heart conversation with your spouse. If the interest is not there, and the other thing could be, is there any addictions? Like pornography. Is there an addiction? Sometimes in both cases, men and women, they don't want to share with their spouse. So, or if there is there an outlet outside, outside your marriage, are they having another affair? Those can cause losing sexual desire in the
for your spouse,
your
because
spouse.
somebody's getting it from somewhere else.
Exactly. Their love tank is filled through some other way.
And by the way, this just kind of hit me because it kind of combines everything here. Like we have actually talked, to couples, where there's been adultery, involved, and it's really like almost scary that very few instances does the adultery start as a physical attraction. Even though there's a physical attraction, what actually gets them to the place of committing adultery physically is actually emotional. When somebody feels like they're being hurt by someone, somebody is filling their emotional love tank. Whereas that's not the case at home. And so if your spouse is losing interest in sex, then you need to ask yourself, like are we taking care of these things? Like emotionally, are we providing a safe environment?
That's right.
For the other person to connect with us, to share their innermost feelings. Because sometimes, like I've heard guys say this, I start to open up, and then she'll say, what do you mean you feel that way? You shouldn't be feeling that way. Well, you say that to a guy, he's going to climb up on you, and he never wants to bring up anything emotional again, because if he's going to get slammed. For doing that, or women, like wife like really starts crying, and a lot of guys can't handle their wives crying, and so it's like, well, if you're going to cry, don't talk to me, okay? Like you give your wife that message, now you basically are shutting her down emotionally, and you're now contributing to what looks like a lack of sexual desire, but it is not actually a lack of sexual desire. It is a lack of emotional intimacy. I hope you got that one. Okay. And so,
which we talked about
earlier. So you need to look at all these different factors and say, hey, how can we provide that kind of environment? And that's why, if you go back and listen to our first few recordings, which all should be on Facebook, we talked a lot about developing some daily disciplines, right? And as you develop those daily disciplines, then you will begin to discover that some of these things are not issues anymore. Because and also what Sulojana talked about at the very beginning of our broadcast today, about take care of things spiritually, rather. The forgiveness, the spirit soul hurts.
It hurts.
When you do all of that, then you're improving everything in your marriage that now also leads to a sexual connection. But if there are physical issues, then hey, you need to get them taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Again, in a loving way, you need to direct your spouse to get medical attention if that's what they need. And so all of that together can contribute. Now, again, one of the things that we have to add whenever we give these kind of answers is that everyone's situation is unique to you as an individual and as a couple.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dynamics at work. And so the answers that we give, we're trying to cover, a lot of ground. But if you need help with your particular situation, then we would, highly recommend that you contact us to set up a time, just for us to meet with you, to get to know your story a little bit more, and see, how we can provide you with the help that you need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, marriage can be the best thing God had created. It can be the best if you put an effort and take care of some of these the issues, and it can be like heaven. If not, if you're dealing with stuff, unresolved issues, and you feel like you're not being heard, like all the things that we talked about, take care of them. Otherwise, it will be like hell.
Yeah.
Right? You're not happy, and that's not what God meant marriage to be. Okay, so we are looking forward to hearing from you. If you want to, like Jeeva said, one-on-one or couple-on-couple, like a appointment, we'll be glad to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
And so send us a message, or if you want to know more about what we do, there's our website, thesams.ca. Very easy to remember. We're the Sams. Jeeva and Sulojana, Sam from Canada. So sams.ca is all you need to remember. If you can't spell our names properly, the sams.ca is all you need to go to, and you'll get more details. There's also an application form on that website, that we ask both husband and wife to fill out separately, because both often have very different perspectives of what is going on in the marriage, what is causing the dysfunction, and so on. And so contact us, and friends, we will respond to every inquiry, whether it comes on social media or on the website. We will get back to you, and we're here to help you. All right, friends. So that's our session for today. If you have any other questions that you would like us to ask, at this stage, don't think we saw any more questions, in the feed as it went by in the chat. So you'll need to send it to us by messenger. And if you're watching the recording, thank you very much for taking the time. Whether you're watching on the recording or live, have any questions, please don't put them on the feed, especially if you're watching the recording, which it tells you very clearly is the recording. Please contact us directly, and we will be glad to respond to you. So have an awesome week. We'll do it again a week from now. We will let you know what the subject is at that point before we meet. Okay. Yeah. So Sulojana, you want to do that?
Mm-hmm. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this time that we were able to share what you have taught us, Lord, and through your word, through our 37 years of marriage. And Father, we thank you and praise you that we were able to connect with everyone who's listening now or going to listen to the recording, Lord. I pray a blessing upon each and every one of those, their marriages. May they thrive, they flourish, and let your peace descend upon all the marriages. And I pray for your love, just like you love us. Help us, teach us how to love each other even more and more every day. Father, we thank you and praise you that you created marriage, and you want the best marriage for everyone. And with your help, marriages can be restored, and we can receive that happiness, the peace, the joy that you so long to give each one of us as a couple. We love you, Lord. We surrender everything into your hands right now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.